All right. So, in this video, I'm going to talk to you all about scale fluctuations and not letting that number on the scale cause you to self sabotage and throw all your progress off. I see it over and over again. People checking the scale and looking at it and wondering, why is it not continuously just going down? There's other factors at play, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about some of these so that you can stay out of your head and not sabotage yourself. All right. So, understanding scale fluctuations is going to be super important, and it's going to help you get a better perspective of what's going on in your day to day and over the course of the month, and just give you a better idea of what to expect in your weight loss. The scale is just going to be one measurement of progress. Yes, we want to see the scale moving. A lot of times people will be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter if the scale's not moving. If weight loss and getting the weight lower is your goal, then yes, we want it moving. But there's other factors in the background that can be causing it to fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of these right now. So, water retention. This can happen in so many different ways. And we have to be mindful of this. So you could be having fat loss going on in the background, so you have the fat loss going on in the background, but you have some water weight happening. So when you step on the scale looks exactly the same. And that will freak people out. Or sometimes the scale might even look a little bit higher because of that extra water. And then you're thinking, well, why am I doing all this work and not seeing any progress? And then you just go ahead and cave into something that you didn't really want to cave into because you're feeling bad for yourself, because you're not seeing the progress that you want to see. And then you cause the scale to actually go up on the fat side. Some reasons for water weight can be, the biggest one for women, time of the month. For me personally, I'll see a spike up in my weight right before it's my special time of the month, a little bit during it, and then towards the end, it starts to go back down. And it happens every single month. Sometimes I'll even have a little spike up around the ovulation time frame. And I just have to be aware that it goes up a little bit always around that time of the month. Just expect it. Some other reasons, inflammation in your body. And I can tell you that a lot of times when people just start working out, just start getting into exercise, or ramp up their exercise and they're feeling that soreness in their muscles, you step on the scale, it's going to look higher. You're going to have some water retention going on while those muscles are, recovering from the stress you put on them from the exercise. Completely normal. Don't let that freak you out. And this happens, like the soreness. Quick story right here. So I trained and ran 3 marathons in 1 year. I'm very proud of myself for doing that. I thought I would lose weight while doing it, but I would get on the scale after one of the long, long runs, and the scale would be up like 5 pounds. And I was like, what? You know how many calories I burned running that many miles? But it was the water weight going on because my muscles were inflamed. They were trying to recover from the stress I put on them. We're going to retain the water. And then when the soreness wears off and you don't feel that soreness in the muscles anymore, you see that scale come right back down. So something to be aware of, especially when you're just jumping into exercise or ramping up some of your exercise or lifting heavier. Expect that. If you feel sore, just keep in your mind like, yeah, the scale is probably going to be up a little bit from that. So don't freak out. Having carbohydrates that are like really heavy, more than you're used to having, like say you got a bunch of desserts or you went out to eat, and that's the same thing with the sodium intake. Going out to eat is foods that you're not used to having. That's going to cause some water weight to spike up. They just over season food, make it delicious, but it causes your weight to spike up a little bit. Completely normal. A couple days go by, it'll come right back down, as long as you're not like continuously eating these kinds of foods. Stress can cause you to just retain water. Stress and not getting adequate sleep, your body can hold on to water weight until it feels comfortable to let go of it. And this is another one. If you go on a long trip or you're like having to sit for a very long time in the car rides or on an airplane, you can hold some water weight from that too. And all of these, usually in a couple days, the water weight flushes out. As long as you stay consistent with what you're doing, you'll see a difference. So that's some reasons why you could see the scale spike up. Everyone always likes to talk about muscle gain when they're working out, but I'm going to be honest with you, it takes a long time to build true muscle weight. So I don't want you to automatically think that you started working out, the scale jumped up 5 pounds, you've gained 5 pounds of muscle. You haven't. Most likely it's water retention from the muscles being sore. But over time, you can start to add some muscle weight, which is why we see some people where they're like 150 pounds in one picture, 150 pounds in another picture, but their body composition is so much different. They've got a lot less fat in one picture and more muscle tone. In the other one, maybe they've got higher body fat. Same weight, but the body composition is different. But building muscle takes time. So I don't want you to automatically think that the scale jumped up because you're building muscle. You might be building some, but it does take a lot longer than you think, especially for women. Men are a little bit faster with that, but it takes time. You're a good way of looking, like I told you, comparing the two bodies, like someone at 150 pounds with higher muscle versus someone with higher body fat. The measurements are going to be different. So it is really, I think it's fantastic to make sure that you're taking measurements. That's a true way of seeing what's changing in your body and what areas are shrinking, what areas might be growing, depends on your goals. If you want to grow your legs or you want to grow your butt, like take the measurements in all the different places that you care about so you can see the changes. I do a lot of, with my clients, I do a lot of measurements in the midsection because there's like a good high waist spot. There's across your belly button. There's across like your hips. Then there's like across your whole butt. Like there's a bunch of different spots that you might want to measure in your legs, in your arms, your chest, just to see everything. And you can see where things are changing because you'll see the measurements a lot of times first. And you'll see the measurements changing even if there's water retention going on. So you know that you're on the right track with things. If you're not seeing the scale move and you're not seeing any measurement change, then you got to take a better look at what you're eating because you could be not truly in a calorie deficit for your body. Okay. So then we've talked a little bit about the hormonal changes throughout the month, but it's not uncommon for women to see, their weight fluctuate 3 to even 7 pounds over the course of, their cycle. I always see it come up a little bit beforehand and then in the beginning of it and then kind of taper off later. But you start to pay attention to your body's trends. You just have to keep it in mind. It's going to make a difference. But if you look at your trend over time, and I'll talk about this in a minute, that's what's important. So I want you to stay out of your head. It's around your time of the month. Expect the weight to spike up a little bit. And it's always so much fun when you weigh yourself around that time frame, but it's actually lower than you expected. And you're like, okay, good. That means my weight is actually even lower than this point. So your weight can fluctuate so much, and it can drive people nuts. It can fluctuate on a daily basis. It can fluctuate on a weekly basis, monthly basis. There's always factors going on in the background. Like we talked about, your activity level can cause you to see some fluctuation. If you're having some issues with constipation or not regular, that weight is going to be in your system. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're not going to the bathroom frequently enough, remember that stuff hasn't passed, so it's sitting there. So that could be some weight that where you step on the scale, you might actually be lower because you haven't gone to the bathroom. You want to make sure you're staying hydrated so you're helping your body do what it needs to do and flush things out that it needs to flush out and get in and help you not retain as much water. I know that sounds that sounds like counterintuitive to people to drink more water to get rid of water weight, but it's actually helping the levels in your body readjust, and then it allows the excess to flush out. If you have questions about that, you can ask me and I can go into more detail. Um, but and then also, like I said earlier, going out to eat, you're almost always going to see a spike up, even if you made good decisions, like things are marinated, even like something grilled, they might be brushing it with butter. They're going to heavily season it to make it taste delicious. So you just have to be mindful that, okay, I went out to eat the next day or the next 2 days, I might see the weight spike up and then it's going to come back down. So just keep it in mind. But you really want to try to look at your weigh-ins in a bigger picture and not look at like the day-to-day change. Back up from your weigh-ins and look at how your trend is over time, because that is actually going to give you a better picture of the progress that you're making. Try not to stay stuck in even if you look at it once a week, you didn't see the fluctuations that happened through the week. You could weigh every week on Friday, but then, one Friday, if you would have weighed on Saturday, you would have seen the drop. So you want to just look at your weight as data points, make sure it's trending overall in the right direction, and you'll know you're on the right track. But besides just focusing on your weight, you might want to also try focusing on some non-scale victories. And I know that sounds cheesy, but for some people, but there's a lot of benefits besides just a number on the scale. I've listed a whole bunch in these next couple of slides. Screenshot them. Some may resonate with you more, but I'm just going to read off some of these to you, like your clothes fitting better, smaller measurements, enhanced endurance, enhanced athletic performance. Maybe your brain is thinking more clearly. Maybe stress levels are lower. You're feeling yourself able to move around a lot more, sleeping better. You feel more energized. Maybe your confidence is growing. A lot of times when people start losing weight, they start to feel like more confident in themselves, and the clothes that they put on, they feel more confident. Your mindset can be a little bit stronger than it was before. That was a big one for me for my changes. Maybe you're getting stronger. Maybe you can lift more in your workouts. And you can see that trend of like, oh my gosh, I used to only do 5 pounds here and now I'm doing 15. Like that's a huge difference. That is such a victory. Clearer skin, better hair, better nails, joints don't hurt as much. I know a lot of people, when they start lowering those added sugars, they start noticing like, okay, my joints don't hurt as much. That's awesome. Less inflammation in the body. Better eating habits. That can be some victories for you. Maybe now you're finally eating a lot more vegetables than you used to. Be proud of yourself for that. Maybe you're drinking more water. Maybe you don't have as much of those cravings that you used to have. Like, pay attention to the things that are going on with your body. Do you have better digestion going on? Are you more regular with everything? Do you feel less bloated? Are your blood work results looking good? Like, did you have great changes in, like blood pressure, cholesterol levels, blood sugar? Are you coming off of medications that you might be on or close to, or lowering dosages? Those are all fantastic wins and things that you should be proud of for yourself, besides just the number on the scale. So I would go back and screenshot some of those and be like, okay, this resonates with me. I need to focus on some other things besides just weight loss, because there's so many more benefits that you can be excited about. But overall, set yourself realistic expectations. Don't say, I want to lose 40 pounds in 1 month. No, we need to think about something that is more sustainable. I would say anywhere between a half a pound to 2 pounds a week as an average. It's probably going to be more realistic. And that's an average. I'm not saying you should be losing exactly that every single week. That's more realistic. With the calorie deficit that you might be utilizing. If you go any more than that, it's a little more extreme, a little harder to sustain. It's possible, but it's a little harder to sustain. And the whole point is to keep your weight off. We don't want the yo-yo back where you do something really restrictive for a short period of time and then rebel later and then just gain weight back. We're trying to keep it sustainable, and you want this to stay off, because why work so hard and gain it all back? We don't want that. So set yourself realistic expectations that will help prevent the self-sabotage as well. We don't want to sabotage ourselves when we're doing so well with things. And then you kick yourself later about it. You're like, why did I do that? Let's try to prevent that from happening. But overall, consistency is key. And yes, people say this over and over again, but it is so true. You have to stay consistent with the healthy habits and the choices. The progress will follow, but you have to stay consistent. And consistent does not mean 1 week. Consistent does not mean 1 month. It doesn't mean 3 months. Consistency for the rest of your life. And that might be eye-opening, but you need to be consistent with your healthy habits for the rest of your life. And consistency doesn't have to be perfection either. That's another thing to focus on. Consistency does not have to be perfection. You can have one day where you did really great with everything and another day where you were exhausted. You didn't do a workout, but you allowed yourself to rest. You still had good food choices, and you're like, okay, that's still a win. And then the next day, maybe you got the workout in. Maybe you had something that was a little higher in calories, and then you balance it later. It's just over time, staying consistent with your habits majority of the time. And then keep a positive mindset. Stay out of your head. Stop sabotaging yourself. If you start to get negative thoughts or you start to get these self-sabotaging thoughts, you've got to try to just like swipe them away and be like, no, that's not where we're going with my thinking. The more that we can stay in that positivity towards what you're doing and reinforce, like, hey, I'm so proud of myself that I made it to the gym twice this week. I'm so proud of myself that I was able to incorporate a salad in with lunches every single day this week for work. Think about what you're doing well and voice it out loud. I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds corny, but the more your brain hears these things that are positive that you want to be working on, the more your brain's like, okay, let's focus on that. Because you are essentially telling your brain what you want it to focus on. And I have other videos on this. Mindset is so important with weight loss, and mindset is so important with just your health overall. So, like I said, set realistic expectations, stay consistent, and keep a positive mindset. And let's just try to prevent that self-sabotage that is so easy to happen in a weight loss journey. Remember, your weight is going to fluctuate. It is not going to be this perfect straight line downward when you're trying to lose weight. There's going to be ups and downs, and it's not always going to be there's going to be things going on in the background. You can have fat loss going on the whole entire time, but have water weight fluctuations that are messing with your head a little bit. Stay consistent, do your measurements, take pictures of yourself, look at how your clothes fit and the changes over time, and focus on some of these non-scale victories that I had listed. There's a lot more than just that. I just wanted to give you a pretty good list to get some ideas and thinking outside of just the weight loss. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in another video.